I was fucked up, man. My father was my hero. He was my best friend. He was legit a person that I would consult about damn near everything. So
Mm.
losing him was a difficult thing. Jiu-Jitsu has taken me from a place where I'm moody. My daughter would look at me and go, "Mom, Daddy's crying again. Let's come hug him." And they would have like interventions. Now I can have the conversation where I can tell you what it is. And it's not like you start doing jiu-jitsu, your problems disappear. It's just like you fall down this rabbit hole of like, I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna do this again, repetition, where you just like, before you know it, you transform into this different version of yourself.
Awesome. All right, Stanley. Well, thank you again. We were just chopping it up before this, but I really appreciate, you accepting the invite and being willing to share your story. Thank you so much. And I hope that other people that get to hear your story find it, inspiring, hopefully, and that, like I was mentioning to you, like they can see themselves in you and maybe consider martial arts as as something to do to be better humans, and I think that we all strive to be better humans in, one way or another, but I think martial arts is a pretty good vehicle, at least in my
Yeah,
opinion,
hell yeah, I have to agree.
Cool.
Thank you for the opportunity, brother.
Yeah, brother. All right, Stanley. So if you don't mind sharing with us, how old are you and where do you call home?
I'm an old dog. I'm 37. I'll be 38 in December.
All
And I'm
right.
originally from New York City, from the Washington Heights area. So right by the George Washington Bridge.
Nice, nice, nice. So, I'm curious, like what brought you from, New York City to, New Jersey? For folks that don't know, we are both
Yeah,
in New Jersey.
yeah, man. So it was actually getting older. I'm an old man again. My wife was pregnant, and when my wife and I had a baby, we started to feel a little bit cramped in my mother's house. We eventually moved out and had our own apartment, but the
Hmm.
area, as great as it is, I love my neighborhood. I love where I grew up. We wanted
Yep,
something
yep,
different for our daughter,
yep.
and we started saving up and planning and building that little dream in our mind until it finally
Hmm.
became a reality. We were able to do it, I think, 8 years ago. We
Hmm.
moved when
Hmm.
my daughter was maybe one, and it was all.
Mm.
It's she's always been the driving force for a lot of stuff since she's come to my life, our life, me and my wife,
Yep.
and that's the reason. Yeah, because of the babies.
I hear you. That's interesting. I have a very similar story too, that like once we had our little one and our little one started moving around, like walking, I was living in the studio in Manhattan. It got really small really quick and we were like, no, like we need to go somewhere where, we can get something bigger. In my circumstance, like, something that we can afford and is comfortable for everybody to be around, but yeah, I think that that's a common, transition for a lot of people in New York City to come to New Jersey because from my personal experience, and you probably can second that, like it's probably a better place to raise kids uh
Absolutely,
compared to New York City.
absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
New York is great. It's not to put New York down, but as
No, of
far as
course.
family life, New Jersey and is
Yeah,
absolutely, I found a way better place. It's
for sure.
friendlier, it's less busy,
Yep.
it's more. It seems more family-ish in the
Yes.
day-to-day living, whereas New York is like all
Hustle and
business,
bustle.
hustle and bustle. Correct.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. Now going to our next question, and that is regarding like what do you do for a living? I have
Yeah.
a very vague understanding of it, but from what I understand, you work in the financial sector
Yeah.
in Manhattan. Is that accurate?
That is, yeah, that's correct. I work in small business lending. So
Okay,
I
okay.
basically I help small businesses access the capital that they need to
Hmm. Hmm.
grow, to expand, to get out of tough spots and things of the sort.
Yep,
So
yep.
I started selling directly to business owners. I'll give you $10 for $1. You give me back 11. No, I'll
Hmm.
give you 10.75. All right, let's meet in the middle, 10.85. Now it's more about managing the flow of traffic for
Mm,
brokers. So I don't work
mm,
directly with the customers anymore. It's
hmm.
more with the the intermediaries that have a
Gotcha.
large population of customers, and then I just manage that flow of business. So it's kind of like traffic control.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So, and yeah, I'm curious, like, what inspired you to go in, in that career path?
It was a total coincidence, to be honest with you. It's ironic because I'm coming up on 10 years at this job now. And before this job, I was a about to reach 10 years in my previous job. I was
Mm.
working at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, which is where I got my associates from. When I was in college there, I got a job at the bursar's office, and that just kind of developed into a long,
Ah,
long time. And
okay.
when I got my degree from John Jay, I got a professional title, which was great. I was very proud, but it didn't really change my circumstance much. And I
Hmm,
started to
hmm.
get a little bit frustrated. So I started to venture out. What can I do? What does the world have for me? And
Yeah.
by pure coincidence, I came across the company that I work in now through a referral from a very unassuming friend, not in the industry. He just introduced me to someone who told me about it. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. They described it like the Nike of small business loans. And I was like, well, shit, I want to work at the Nike of small business loans. And
I
they just
love
made
it.
it seem so glamorous. And
Yeah.
I applied. They saw my grit and my willingness to hustle. And here I am, about to be at 10 years.
That's awesome, man. That's
Total
awesome.
coincidence. Yeah, man.
I don't believe in coincidences, but I
To
get what you're
agree.
saying. I
Yeah,
get
no,
what you're
no. I
saying.
have to agree. Everything that happens is meant to happen just like it happened. I'm a believer in that.
100%, man. And I love that because I think that even for me, I have a different experience. Like I work in finance, but in the corporate sector. And I can't tell you, like, you can teach grit. You can teach that hunger. Like
Yeah, man.
you can come from the best schools, but that's something that either you have it or you don't have it. And I think that, I'm in a different part of my life where I'm learning that that is really what separates a lot of people is that hunger, and just like how much are you willing to work for what you want. And so I'm getting ahead of myself, but I mean, to me, like hearing you, and I know you, at least from my experience on the mats, like it's not surprising that that is your history, your story in terms of your career, because I see that same work ethic on the mats, bro. Like you are relentless,
I
and
was just gonna say it's a lot like jujitsu. How many times can you get tapped and continue to come back and want to do it
yeah,
again and keep fighting
yeah.
through?
Now, to walk me through that. Like, do you believe that there is some kind of common ground between what you do for a living and martial arts?
Hell yeah, because I deal with a lot of no's, and I have to.
Mm,
The next call, I have to sound just as happy and excited to manage that person's book of business as the last person that told me no. If I come in with
mm,
the energy of the previous no, I'm just spoiling the next potential yes. So the same thing with martial arts and with jujitsu. I may have gotten my ass kicked the last 7 spars, but on the eighth, I would still like to do well. And if I come in defeated, like they just kicked my ass, I just got choked out, or in the
no,
business sense, if they just told me it's already a lost battle. So they're very much alike in that I have to be resilient, and the nose can't really sway my like the spear. The spear has to keep flying through regardless of what it's going through.
I that makes a lot of sense because when you will grapple with other people, and then we call each other up to grapple when I was at Silver Fox,
Yeah.
man, like you were going at it like if it was your first round. I'm like, how is this guy not tired?
I don't know what it
You
is,
know,
man. It's just
but
it's a
I think it's
battery.
yeah, it's that idea, right? Is that mindset of like, it could be my first, it could be my last, but I'm gonna give it 100% every time I go at it.
It's
Yeah,
the only way I know. And sometimes it'll drive you crazy that
yeah.
natural inclination to want to go 100 miles an hour at everything.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's good to take a minute and like slow down and analyze. But my natural state is go go go
Yeah.
go go.
Now, walk me through that because I'm curious, like, where does that come from, right? Like, where does that hunger, that passion, that grit, where does it come from? Do you think that it has to do with like your upbringing in Washington Heights, or is it from your family? I'm curious, like, what's the origin of that you know, the way you are?
Sure. So it's actually, I would say, a combination of things. My parents were hard workers and hustlers from the
Hmm.
very beginning. I could like my father and my mother had so many businesses growing up, and they were no nonsense, like no monkey business, no messing around. It was all hard work and like decent work. So I've seen from the beginning of my life, my parents work hard at a lot of different things. Some
Hmm.
things
Hmm.
worked, some things didn't, but they still needed to provide for their family. And
Hmm.
that was the very beginning of it. But I'm also from Washington Heights, where there's a natural like atmosphere of competition, healthy competition,
Yeah,
uh, hustling and wanting to succeed and get out of the hood, so to speak. That's
yeah.
a natural thing. It's I guess a combination of who I am and what I've seen, but it's just I guess what's been implanted in me from the beginning.
Gotcha, man. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And hearing you talk, you remind me a lot of the interview I had with Richard Ortega,
Yeah,
who's, an MMA fighter out of Hensel Gracie. And, similar origins, similar. You guys come from the same neighborhood.
same neighborhood. Yeah,
And is and I have like I've experienced, Washington Heights for myself. I don't live there, I never did, but I have friends there, and it's a neighborhood that is similar to where I grew up in Bushwick. It's a gritty neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's always some level of competition. But I think that's good because it builds like a go-getter trait. You know what I mean?
That's where the
Get
grit
after it.
comes from. You get real strong real fast, or you're
Hmm.
forced to.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
For sure, for sure. Now, let's shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
So what do you do when you're not working and when you're not doing martial arts? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I'm here. I'm actually cleaning the garage up and trying to put it back together so that I can get back to lifting. I've been
Hmm.
a complete slouch on the lifting side of things because I've been so wrapped up with the jits. But to be honest with you, man, I'm real boring. I parent a lot. I'm with my kids, cleaning up, prepping them
That's
for
not
a
boring,
birthday
man.
party. I mean, in the sense that it's not very eventful. Like my life is for the most part surrounded around my kids.
Yeah.
Jujitsu is really my luxury. If I'm not working or
Mm.
with my family, jits is like that's my thing. The
Hmm.
bulk of my time, the large majority of my time. Like when
Hmm.
I'm not working, of course, it's with my
Hmm.
family. Whether that's
Gotcha.
a kids event, here messing around, stick
Yeah.
with jitsu like we were talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I love
I'm a
that.
family man. For I want to say the last 9 to 10 years since my kid came into my life, it's all about them for the large
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, that's very noble. And I think that in my personal opinion, like fathers, man, like we should all strive to that, and that should be, in my opinion, again, like our biggest priority, to take care of them and watch after our little ones and make sure that the next generation is better than us, and
indeed,
and
indeed.
I'm taking the liberty to say this because I know you have like similar thoughts as in terms of like we want to provide our kids a better lifestyle than the one that we had. You know what I mean? So I know that your thinking aligns with that, right?
Very much so. I always have
Yeah.
this image of like increasing the floor for the
Mm-hmm.
platform that they can
Mm-hmm.
jump off of to reach for the stars. Like my father
Yes.
was born, I'm sure we've had this conversation because I can't shut up about my dad. He was born on a farm. It was his goal to like make sure that his family did a little bit better. So we went from the
Yes.
farm to the city. And it's funny because my kids went from the city to the
To the
suburbs.
so yes,
So
sir. But
hopefully
but
they
that's
can,
how it is.
yeah, man.
Yes. Yes, yeah, that's how it is. But there is this constant, progression to improvement, to being better, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we had talked about that because I share similar, beginnings. My parents migrated and we're doing better. But yeah, that's beautiful, man. You should never say it's boring, man. Like that's the best thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
man. I love it. I love my life, man.
that's good, brother. That's good. So, we're talking a little bit about, you hold dear to your heart, which is your family. What do you like to do when you're not doing jiu-jitsu or working? And, we talked a little bit about, your personality, your grit. But tell me, and your family values to some extent, but what values or principles from your personal life do you feel influence you to start your martial arts journey?
Well, strength. I've always been really, really big on strength and again providing for my family. And I have
Mm-hmm.
two daughters. So the
Mm-hmm.
thought that I won't be strong enough to be able to take care of my family or I won't be able to take
Mm-hmm.
care of my family is something that I'm not comfortable with. So I
Mm-hmm.
fight that and I try to prepare against those situations that come up in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's a large part of it. Again, going back to my dad is in the upper room. He went upstairs, and
Sorry to hear that, brother.
part of life. Um, but he's a large part of my motivation because he wasn't in the best physical state when he went. And
Mm.
I saw what I didn't want for myself.
Yes,
As much as
sir.
I like, idolize my dad, I don't want to be in that situation.
Yes, sir.
So that was enough for me to know I have to prepare against this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I can relate with you so much, 100%. You know, and this interview is about you, but I'm only going to share this little bit because I have a similar background like you. Like my father, hardworking, he migrated from Mexico, and this guy had two jobs almost all the time. And I'm like, God dang it, like you just work yourself to the ground. But the ironic thing is that one of his jobs is working at a gym, right? So he used to work at the New York Sports Club, the one on 23rd and Park Avenue. And he worked there. And I was like, Father, like, dude, like you have to work out, like you have to take care of your body, and like this is me getting ready to join the Marine Corps. And like I would work out at his gym, and I'm like, Dad, like you need to take care of your body. Your body is made to be mobile. Yeah, you move around working, but you have to condition it.
Yeah.
And he had
Yeah.
rheumatoid arthritis, which is like his hands get like deformed and whatnot. And my father had really big hands, even though he was much shorter than me, but he had like really big, and they will get really deformed. And I'm like, Dad, like you got to take care of yourself. And just like you said, his lack of taking care of his body was a very clear indication, like, hey, dude, like that's what you're not gonna do. Because, I have that fear, at least for myself, that I'm gonna end up there. Like both my parents have arthritis, so the chances of me having it genetically are pretty high. But I'm like, like what can I do to give myself a great chance at being good as long as I can,
That's it.
and it's staying active. So you're talking about strength, like that was a big motivation for you to do martial arts. Um, but I'm curious, like if you can elaborate more, like are you talking about mental strength, physical strength, or emotional strength, or all of the above?
All of them. I wasn't specifically speaking about strength. Probably the least of it is like physical strength because
Gotcha.
that's great, but not to sound too cheesy, like if you're not emotionally strong and you're not mentally strong, all of that physical strong shit is useless because you could be really good at running into the wall and it's useless.
Right.
For me, it's more like emotional strength and being able to be
Mm.
sturdy and be the Stanley that I know I need to. Because there's versions of Stanley that are balled up in the corner crying about his dad. There's versions of Stanley that are angry and not the friendliest and nicest person to be around. So I make it a point to try to be the correct and the best version of Stanley, the one that I know exists, but takes a lot of fucking work sometimes. But the best one for my kids and for my wife. So
Yes, sir.
strength
Man.
in the sense of I'm gonna keep going. Like again, part of the reason why jujitsu is so like spot on for me is like you get kicked in the ass and you slap bump and you're right back to it again. So like you have to be strong enough to take the hits and keep going. So yeah, you gotta be physically strong. The more physically strong you are, the more you can take a lot of the bumps. But for me, a lot of the battle is in my mind and like
Gotcha.
being
Gotcha.
upright, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, you talk. I hear you talking. It echoes a lot, like what you were mentioning in terms of like your career, right? Like having that resilience when someone tells you, and you kind of already mirror that with martial arts, with jujitsu, that like you're on these calls and people tell you no, and you gotta like how I picture it's like you like shrugging it off and yes, getting right back at it, and very optimistic on the next call. So it's like similar to jujitsu where like you said, like you mentioned, if somebody taps you out and you shake that off and you go right back at it as if it was your first round on the next round. And so that builds that mental resilience, right?
Yeah, they kind of build on each other. One
Gotcha.
builds off of the other. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
You get used to dealing with the no and keep going the same way you get used to getting your ass kicked and keep going, or
Keep
the same
going.
way you get used to getting a win and keep going because it works vice versa. I may get a closed deal or a funded deal, but the next client doesn't give a shit about the previous client's success. I still have to be able to give my best face and the best presentation to the next client. And with jiu-jitsu, the same. I tapped you last time, but if I'm not careful and I'm not precise with my technique, maybe you'll
Gotcha.
catch me much worse, and now I'm paying.
Right. So like the other side of that is like, okay, staying hungry, but then even when you win, like don't get complacent, right?
Correct.
And stay hungry
Correct.
to be better. Awesome,
Yeah.
man. And so walk me through it, like how long you've been doing jujitsu for. I mean, I know you through jujitsu, so I don't know if if you practice other martial arts, but if you do, if you want to share that. But like how long you've been doing it for, and yeah, like I'm curious, like what made you want to start?
Yeah, it was actually a birthday gift to myself. December of 3 years ago. So I want to say 21.
Hmm. Hmm.
My my dad died. I was in a bad place. I
Oh
needed
man.
something that I could like get the energy out, but also like enjoy and get into a routine. I had
Yeah.
tried working out. Working out, it's fun, it's cool, but I'm like off and on with it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I needed something where I could channel the energy and distract myself from the dark. And I was just looking for it. And my boy David, who's a brown belt at Silver Fox, who's been
Hmm.
my friend for life, he
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
always like very vocal about how fire jujitsu was.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what it was, but one day he just convinced me, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll try it. This weird looking thing where dudes are hugging each other and they're all sweating on top of each other. That
Yeah.
shit looks weird, but what do I have to lose? I'm angry already. Like, let's try it.
Mm,
And it
mm.
was like, oh shit, wait a minute. This is not just weird dudes hugging each other and like
Yeah.
this is like kind of fucking fire. And I
Hmm.
just fell
Hmm.
down a rabbit hole. But it was very much looking for an outlet for the energy and something positive to focus on, bro. Because I'm handsome and I look great, but I've had some low moments.
Hit this guy. Oh man. Yeah, yeah. So I mean that's pretty powerful, man. I feel like a lot of people I've talked to, you know, s- their need or their just like the curiosity to explore martial arts comes from a dark place, or a dark moment in their life. And I think that that's so powerful that you were hurt because of your dad's loss, and you mentioned being angry. I don't know why, but you have your reasons for that. And instead of choosing to do something destructive, I mean, I'm not here being the best role model drinking the beer, but like, you couldn't gone that route. You know what I mean? Like you could
Yeah.
have, choose to go and embrace other vices, but instead you decided to give, jujitsu a tryout. So, like, let's talk about that. Like, as you decide that, okay, you're gonna hear your friend, who's a brown belt silver fox, finally and give it a try. Was there any lag between from when he was telling you like, hey, you should try jujitsu till the time that you decided to actually go in?
A
And I'm
bunch.
curious if there was a lag, like what caused it, and if there was some kind of friction, like how did you overcome that to finally step into Silver Fox?
Hell yeah. So there was absolutely a lag. And it's funny because I would always be in here working out, and we talk all the
Mm.
time because he's my boy. And I
Hmm.
would
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
be working out, and he would be looking at me like with this because we like I said, we're very competitive where we're
Yeah.
from, and he would be looking at me with this look like, yeah, that's cute, but I'll kick your ass. Like that's what he was telling me with the look, and
As a
like,
brown
yeah,
belt, I'm pretty sure he will, bro.
you'll kick my ass to this day with the snap of a finger. But it was like, and that was like, bro, what the fuck you mean? Like, bro, you
Yeah.
won't fucking kick my
Oh.
ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? No, he
Yeah,
absolutely. But in my mind at the moment is like, but
yeah.
there was some lag because you have that initial like, I got this. I don't need that shit. And
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe it was the affiliation with the leotards and connected to wrestling. Like all that shit just looked weird to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And again, I'm
Hmm.
from the hood. Nobody where I come from has fucking wrestled, or at least not that I know of. Like we're
Right.
all baseball players, football players, basketball
Basketball
players,
player.
or
Yeah.
players. Like that's the game that you play. you're not like
Right.
a you're not like a hockey player, a
I
tennis,
hear you.
wrestling. It was just like a weird thing to me.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But over time, like the curiosity was there because as kids we played like I'm a ninja. I can kick your ass. And again, as men, we grapple all the time without knowing
Mm-hmm.
that we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really
Horsing
grappling. It's more
around.
like
Yeah, just
horsing
fucking
around,
around. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
roughhousing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I grew up with football players.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would get my ass kicked as a basketball player all the time. Like,
I
it
was
was
I,
friendly.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't mention that as like one of your hobbies or things you like to do because I mean, I know you, people don't know this about you, but like you were a basketball player, right?
Hell yeah.
And as far as
Hell
I can
yeah.
understand, like you played in high school, you played in college.
Yeah.
So,
I
you
went
know,
to
like,
boarding school specifically at a basketball school. So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was like, it was a basketball world.
yeah. So like you already come into martial arts with an athletic background.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and at least I mean you're modest, but the way you talk to me about basketball is like you're not even that good of a player, and I see you over here posting on Instagram making a 3-pointer with no problem, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro! Like you're
I
good.
was all right. I was all right. I was decent.
So
But
you know,
I do
like
have an athletic background a bit.
yeah, yeah. So you know, you have this experience, and you know, like again, sorry to throw you off, but like,
Okay.
what was
Okay.
the friction? Like, what kept you from? So it seems like the friction was that you had this like certain
Mental
stigma,
hurdles,
right?
stigmas
Like,
in my mind.
right, like you had these certain perceptions about people, to use your words, like leotards, and you know, wrestling, and correct me if I'm wrong. From what I'm hearing is like, you know, we from people from Washington Heights, people from the hood, like we don't do that. Like we
No,
don't
that shit is
grapple, we don't wrestle, we don't do all that, you know, that weird stuff, like to use your words. So I guess
100%.
that's what kept you at bay then.
I try to tell my boys about it now, and they're like, bro, this weird shit that you're talking about. Like, what are you talking about, jiu-jitsu? They still don't understand the full power, but
Yeah,
it was mostly that, the mental hurdles and the stigmas that I had connected
gotcha.
to it.
Gotcha. So Silver Fox seems like you know, it was and it is a great place for jiu-jitsu. Like the level of jiu-jitsu there is high caliber. You know what I mean?
100%.
So I would say, and I'm not saying it because I'm biased, but like it, you know, you got to give props to who is due, you know, and it is a great place. But I'm curious, you decided to go to Silver Fox because of your friend, um, and then you finally step in there. How did you get in through the door? What happened? What had to take place for you to actually give it a try?
I got lucky because I went to a morning class and David wasn't there. So I just kind
Hmm.
of just one day you know, when you have these things in the cart for a long time and you don't buy it. I kind of
Yeah, yeah,
had the
yeah.
website open in my phone and I was looking at it and looking at the picture
Oh,
and reading it.
wow.
And one morning I had looked at the schedule. I was like, you know what? Today's the day. I'm going. And
That's
Crash was
it.
teaching the class. And he
Yeah.
looked at me. He was like, "Yeah, we'll take your information and like you come back another day." I guess it was I was a little bit late, and I was like,
Ah, okay.
"Please, Crash, please let me rock. Like I've been building
Oh,
this up in my mind. It'd be really cool if you let me rock." And he looked at me. He kind of sized me up. He was like, "Ah, fuck it, go get changed."
yeah, I was
And
gonna say
I
he's
never
a cool
left after
dude.
that. He's a super fucking cool dude. He gave me the training that I
Yeah.
needed, and he was my first instructor. He gave me like my initial foundation of jujitsu.
Wow. He was
So yeah,
my first instructor too. I started in the afternoon, but once I saw that there was a morning schedule, which I think was like 6:30, I'm like, I'm going to that because that works good for me. You know, like
and
I'm a
there's a
morning
group of
person.
killers in that morning class too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I brought Gideon, one of the guys from the crew, from the morning
Yeah,
crew.
yeah.
So hopefully I get to bring some more, but for sure, man. So I guess you overcome it. You like you look at your phone and you're like, you know, F it. Like I've been looking at this for a while. I'm finally gonna give it a try. And so I'm curious, you know, and this is why I made an emphasis on your, you know, uh athletic background. I'm curious if you had any physical challenges or any challenges at all, like as you were starting your jujitsu journey though.
It's funny because I thought I did, but I didn't. I
Ah,
have this
okay.
shoulder thing with basketball where
Okay.
my shoulder would pop out of place.
Okay.
And like I would be going up for a layup and my shoulder would pop out.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I would be one time it even happened in my sleep. I put my arm under my pillow and my arm popped out. So in my
Ay,
mind,
ay,
it
ay.
was like I have shit shoulders and
Hmm.
this is probably not gonna work because I was fucking am I gonna like do all of this grappling
Yeah, yeah,
shit
yeah.
and my shoulder's gonna pop out every 30 seconds. It was a complete boogeyman in the closet. It was just like my shoulder needed a little strengthening, which I did, and I was able to get it I've never had my shoulder pop out in jujitsu, and if anything, my shoulder's probably 1,000 times more or more stronger than it was in the
I get what
past.
you're saying. Yeah.
It was a boogeyman in my mind, and I was like concerned about it. That's part of the hurdles that I had. Once I decided like I want to try this, that was one of the things that I was like shoulder. I
Yeah.
got out there, and it was not even a small factor.
It's
Thank
not
God.
even. That's good, man. That's good. And so I guess it's fair to say that when you started, you really didn't have any big challenges other than what you perceived was a challenge, but in reality, it wasn't, right?
100%. It was all
Y-
mental.
You know, and I say this because, you know, like you, I am a person that I am a huge advocate of martial arts, especially jujitsu, and I know that I'm biased, but like because it's what I really appreciate and I know firsthand. But every time I recommend it to someone, I hear very often like I'm not in shape to do jujitsu. And I'm like, dude, the
Go
only way
first.
you're gonna get in shape to do jujitsu is by doing jujitsu. I'm like, I'm telling you, like, I've been doing jujitsu for a while, for a little bit. I wouldn't even say a while, for a little bit. And I'm like, I run, I do like all kinds of, and nothing prepares you for doing jujitsu. The
Nothing
only
at
thing is
all.
just gotta get in the rounds, like that's what's gonna get you in shape. So
100%.
I'm glad that you share that, and glad that you shared that. You thought that in your mind, like this was gonna be an issue because it wasn't basketball, but then you found out by doing it, right? By putting in the reps that actually it was just in your mind.
There's a lot of mental hurdles that keep us from doing shit that we want to do. And that was just another one of those.
Yeah, yeah. So, now shifting gears from, the physical side to something that you already brought up, and it seems like that was one of your big reasons for you to do martial arts, which is you talked about emotional and mental strength, right? So, I mean, I know you've been doing it for, as you said, like about over 3 years. So I would assume that it is giving you the output that you want, emotional and mental strength. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that? And if that has been the case, like, is there anything that you can probably highlight, like a clear example, like when I started mentally, emotionally, like this is what I used to do or where I was, and this is where I am now, like the before and after, I guess.
Yeah. So, yes, it has absolutely been the vehicle that has helped me. And I don't want to sound over dramatic because, like, I'm very much like wipe your face, stiffen up, like show a tough front and man up. I very much live that. But like, I was fucked up, man. My father was my hero. He was my best friend. He was legit a person that I would consult about damn near everything.
Mm,
So
mm,
losing him was a difficult thing. I was angry because, and you said I had my reasons. I'll tell you, I was angry because I felt it was unfair. My father was not of age to die, but he
mm.
died, and I was upset with the way that it went. I didn't get to say, but it was a bunch of shit. Jiu-jitsu has taken me from a place where I'm moody, legit, bro. My daughter would look at me and go, "Mom, Daddy's crying again. Let's come hug him." And they would have like interventions of like group hugs
Oh,
because they would be the most random shit. We could be watching the funniest movie, be doing the cutest shit, the most happy seeming thing, and it would hit me like, damn, my dad's not here to enjoy this, or my dad
oh,
didn't get to see my daughter do this, and it would fuck me up bad.
yeah,
Like lump in the throat. Having this conversation would probably be a very extended process. Like I said, my daughter would
yeah.
just look at me, and my daughter, she's gonna be 8 now, so she's like 5, 6 at the time, like, and she's already seeing all this grief and all this sorrow. I blabber about that whenever I talk about my dad, but that was then. Now I can have the conversation where I can tell you what it is, and it's not a magical wand. It's not like jujitsu was just here's the sprinkling powder. It's just you fall so deep into this hole of the shit that you really do like and that the shit that you really enjoy and has you so distracted that it helps the time pass. Time is the
Mm,
best medicine. And it's not like you start doing jujitsu, your problems disappear, or you start doing jujitsu, or you start training martial arts, and all of a sudden you have this strong discipline. It's just that you fall down this rabbit hole of like I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna do this again, repetition, where you just like before you know it, you transform into this different version of yourself. And
Yeah.
for me, I'm a lot more I'm a lot more able to not get angry at stupid
Mm,
shit that would have gotten me angry. And like I've never been a super violent guy. Like I don't want to make it seem like I'm some goon that's just going around mollywop. But I would like just be
y-
upset and like
right.
not want to like fucking talk or let's go have drinks. No, I don't want to go have drinks. Now
Mm,
let's go have the fucking drink. Like
mm-hmm,
that's it. I'm
mm-hmm,
okay with having a good time and enjoying it
mm-hmm,
and being present. And again, not to be super dramatic or like wild, I wasn't about to get no fucking therapist. I wasn't gonna go tell somebody
mm,
I'm sad about
mm,
my dad and fucking have them write it in a notepad and tell me it'll be okay. Like that wasn't me. So for me, it
mm,
was better to
mm,
go to a place where I could bump my head against the wall and talk to people who fucking surprisingly are going through very similar situations, even though it may
mm-hmm,
not be their dad.
mm-hmm,
Maybe they had a breakup that fucked them up and they're frustrated. Maybe they lost a
mm-hmm,
job, but everybody's looking for a way to deal with this frustration.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
again, it's not a magic pill. It's just like a
Yeah.
continual spiral. And I don't want to say spiral down. It's probably like a spiral up out of the down. But yeah, man, martial
Yeah.
arts, jujitsu have absolutely helped me get more centered and balanced and able to just like deal with shit as it is. And I'm not fixed. I'm still pretty fucking broken and fucked up. But we make strides to get
Yeah.
where we need to be.
100%. But it seems like, at least from what I'm hearing, if I can summarize, because you said a lot, is in terms
Man,
of like,
sorry.
no, no, that's really great. Like I love that you shared so much because like I was mentioning to you before we started, like I'm hoping that by you sharing all this stuff that maybe someone out there is having a similar situation like you. And maybe somebody by just hearing you now realize that, oh, like this person's going through something very similar like me. Maybe this is a good option for me. So no, I really appreciate you sharing it in detail, but if I can summarize, like it seems for
Yeah,
me, is that martial arts helped you heal, and come to terms with the loss of your dad, where you now can say it without breaking down because it has allowed you to develop this perseverance, right, of like embracing hardship. And you are more sure of yourself, you are more confident, you are more in control because from what I'm hearing, and I speak also from personal experiences, like from what I'm hearing is that because you have constantly put yourself in difficult situations while grappling, and I know because you and I have been grapple together, like either we're suffocating each other, and you still don't like you don't give up, and so like that meant that mental aspect of it, you know for a fact what you're made of because you do it, right?
yeah,
So you don't quit. You know that when things get hard, you don't give up. You know that even though like like as you mentioned, like somebody beats your butt, you're gonna show up the next class, and you do. So that those are votes, towards who you want to be, and so it, right? And that gives you more security of yourself, And the other thing you mentioned is like there's other people that are having similar experiences, that are losing people, that are going through traumatic experiences, and they're trying to heal, through jujitsu. And so that sense of community also helps you to know and think like I'm not alone.
yes. And one thing that you mentioned, you know it, but it's like you know that you're able to do it, and and you feel that confidence. But for me, more so, I learned it because I knew I was tough, and I
Mm,
knew I was like I had a feeling that there was something there, but again, I was never really an overly violent person. I was the basketball player with the football players, so I was always like the little bro. So I felt like there was something there, but you don't really fully know until you put yourself in that situation and find out.
mm,
So I know now, but even better, I had the privilege of finding out for myself.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. No, that's awesome for sure. And like I think that's something that I'm gonna ask you later on, but like it's something that also keeps a lot of people at bay, but it's like the only way you're gonna know whether this is for you or not is like you just got to do it. That's the only way
Put
to
the work
find
out.
out. You
Yeah,
know what I
man.
mean? So, I guess you talked a lot about like how, martial arts helps you be a better human being. And, and you kind of already mentioned like how it helps you to be a better father and whatnot. But like, I'm curious, and that's a big statement there itself. But like, I'm curious, like, how do you feel that martial arts has helped you? And if you can elaborate a little more, like, to be a better dad, better husband, better co-worker. Like, do you feel like martial arts has an impact on you outside of the mats?
Absolutely. I'm a happier person. And
Mm,
a happier person is a person that's more willing to make that next phone call to the partner.
mm.
When I connect with this partner or broker, same thing. When I connect with the broker, I'm not like, what the fuck do you want, bro? Your deal is declined. I don't fucking know where I have been that person. And my wife has
Mm.
had to pull my card and she's like, bro, like such and such is a producer for you. Like I've heard you sell deals with them. Why were you talking to him
Mm.
like that? And I've caught
Mm.
myself like, I don't fucking know why I was talking to him like that. So
Mm.
I'm a happier person and more willing to face my next work professional task with a positive thing. Kids, as I'm sure you know, are amazing. They're beautiful, but they can also be annoying and they can be
Yes.
challenging. You come home from a long work day, dealing with asshole partners in some instances, and your kid is like
They
that,
test you.
and it's like, bro, hold on. Like
Yes,
if I'm in a
super
bad
overwhelming.
space, yeah, it can
Yeah.
overwhelm you. And if you're already
Yeah.
moody and in a bad space, you may not give your kid the best Stanley that there is to give. You may give them
Mm.
the fucking.
Mm.
I don't hit my kids. I don't curse at my kids, but maybe I'm too loud. Or like, maybe the octave goes from loving dad to what the fuck is wrong with him in my kid's
Mm.
mind. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying? Like
mm-hmm.
maybe they feel like,
A little
bro,
bit
I just wanted to
grumpy.
show you a trick. Yeah, I just wanted to show you a trick. So
Yeah.
again, not to over dramatize it, because you know I'm sure that there's people with a lot more challenging situations, but it took me
Mm-hmm.
from a dark, not happy place to a positive place, and that alone, bro, is I make more money, I make more friends, I see opportunities that I didn't see previously. I get to enjoy artwork that my kids make that I would have just thrown in the pile before. Like little things mean a lot, but they all add up.
Yeah.
Being in a good mood for me individually, it's fucking huge because
Yeah.
I didn't even want to
Yeah.
go outside.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying a lot of powerful stuff that honestly, like, I've only done a few interviews. So, up until this interview, like, I am now starting to notice a trend, in terms of like, there's one benefit that almost everybody mentions, which is being more aware of things and more appreciative of the small things, you know. And I guess, for me, like and I'm gonna ask you this question, but I am gonna also try to collect some of the benefits that you've mentioned so far. But the question is like, what are the three biggest benefits that you have got received from martial arts? But it seems like the ability to heal, the ability to be more patient, to, as you say, show up as a better Stanley all around with the people that you love. But the other one to me also seems like being more appreciative of the small things, right? Whether it's like a drawing from your kid that you like you mentioned. Otherwise, before you would just throw it away. But like the small things matter. And so I'm curious now that you being, like probably like the fifth or sixth person that I hear say that, where do you think that comes from? Like that big contrast from, taking small things for granted and now valuing them. Where do you think that comes from? My hypothesis is that because we are forced to be present in the moment in the class, like that kind of like that muscle, the
Yeah,
way of thinking kind of translates into our every other, everyday life. But I'm curious, like, what would you say to that? Or, whether you
there's
agree,
probably
what is your opinion about that?
there's probably an element of that. Like it's so technical. Your knee has to be here. Your arm, if it's
Mm,
here, it's good. If it's there, it's not good. Kind of thing. not to over dramatize it and not to come back to the same topic, but for me, it was my dad, bro. There was a
Hmm.
lot of situations that I should have handled differently with my pops that I
Hmm.
didn't. I was young, fool, playing ball and chasing girls, and I didn't have time to really listen to all of the slick shit that my father was talking about life and being a good man. Like I heard it, but it was like I wasn't trying to sit down and like entertain it. And now that he's
Hmm.
gone, I don't have them. So those little things mean a lot to me. Like being there at the play for my daughter, and even if I gotta miss some shit that I wanna participate in, or going to the dinner with my siblings and getting together on the weekend when I could be out hanging out with the fellas, whatever. So again, it's something that I keep returning to because it's a very
Yeah.
big part of my life. But it's my dad. In the sense of martial arts, I'm a student at best, and I pride myself on that. And the technique and the nuances of how you position yourself and how you execute a move are what
Yeah.
determine if it's successful or not. So I would say that definitely has something to do with it, focusing on the little things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought about it just in paying attention in class, but you expand on that so much more. Like the ability, yeah, to pay attention to all the small details that you need to make sure that you know and that you execute to do the right move.
Right.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. How that will make you more self-aware with everything and more grateful, with everything in your life.
Hell
So.
yeah.
I guess, my next question would be, how, if there is such, and I can see it already, like in your family from what you're saying, but like, how do you feel like martial arts has inspired you to be more involved with your community? You mentioned already before, like, before someone will ask you, like, hey, let's go for drinks, and you wouldn't want to go for drinks, and now you're willing to do that. But beyond that, have you, and you just shared this with me off camera, and I hope it's okay if I share this, but you mentioned
Yeah.
that, like you're an introvert.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, has martial arts had an impact in you being an introvert or you getting more involved with, your community, your social circles, and if so, like how?
It's funny because I very much am an introvert. And like we discussed, I moved from New York to New Jersey. I was already a grown man. Like I don't really have any New Jersey friends. So my
Hmm.
New
Hmm.
Jersey community is very much so my jujitsu community that I've built over time.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
I hardly ever go back to New York and just hang out if I'm not going very specifically somewhere to hang out with this person or that person. So the bulk of my time is here. So
Hmm.
the community that I'm a part of is my daughter's school and my jujitsu community. So it has very much
Mm.
helped me with my introverted ways of having people that I can talk shit with. Like I'm doing this with you. I met you through jujitsu. This is
Yeah,
part of the community that I've been lucky enough to have
yeah.
given to me through jujitsu. So being an introvert, I'm not gonna go out and like make new friends. It's damn
Gotcha.
it. I'm from the hood. Like you stay in your corner, I stay on mine. We don't talk to each other. If you have a mutual friend, they introduce you, I
Yes.
size you up, and then over
Yeah.
time, but we don't make friends. Jiu-jitsu has helped me a lot with that.
I laugh because I am like you, in the sense that I come from the hood, like I come from New York City, and there is this big stereotype that, New Yorkers are like go-getters and they're loud and they're in your face and aggressive. But I mean, that might be true, but like, even though I came from an environment like that, I don't really like to socialize. You know what I mean? And I'm like you, I feel like otherwise, like there's been people that have reached out to me on Instagram, like, hey, I want to be your friend. I'm like, listen, I barely keep up with the friends that I have. I don't have time for new friends. I'm sorry. Like, God bless you, find somebody else, but not me.
I get that.
You
I
know?
get that.
But like with jujitsu, like I don't have a problem making new friends.
It's the
And I feel
weirdest shit, bro.
yeah, I don't
The
understand.
weirdest shit.
Yeah, but I'm glad you shared that, and I guess, shifting gears to, I guess, the last part of this interview, which is, advice. What advice would you give right now to someone that is watching this, that is thinking about doing martial arts, but they're not sure whether this is the right fit for them. What would you say to them?
I would say is the right fit for them. When I think of the spectrum of people that I train with,
Hmm.
there's like a 50 something year old lady who, 60 something year old lady, she's a grandmother. God bless her. She's like awesome. She kicks ass. There's another individual. His name is Brian. He's like a 60. He's not 70. I don't want to overstate it, but he's in his 60s and he will fuck you up. Like, and then I look at all the way at the bottom of the spectrum. There's like junior high school kids that have been training all their life and they're badasses. Like, this is for everyone, for young people that are trying to build themselves up into something,
Hmm.
or for older people that are trying to conserve what they have as time eats away at them, like it does to all of us, not to
Right,
disparage older people.
right, right.
It's, if your body is physically able, like if you have a physically able body, it's
Yeah.
going to help you with your cardiovascular strength. It's going to help you with,
Mm.
like we said, the community. So you're going to meet people that are in, whether you expect it or not, very similar situations,
Hmm.
and you'll be able to extend your useful life. Motion is lotion, and like moving around and
Yes,
staying
sir.
active.
I never heard that motion is illusory, but it's true.
Hell yeah, man. If you don't use it, you lose it.
That's
That's the
true.
problem with getting old. It's not just that you're old, it's that you stop using your body in the way that you did when you were a kid. You
Yes.
have to stay active and use this thing,
Yes.
this temple that
No,
is
I
called.
get what you're saying, 100%, because our bodies were made and designed to be mobile. So
Yeah,
the moment you stop, like you said, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Yeah.
unfortunately, it's the way of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And you'll find that it's a lot friendlier and a lot more welcoming than you probably think. Like you said, the
Yes.
real
Tell me
killers are
more about that.
unassuming. Hell yeah, bro. The people that will really kick your ass are going to be really nice in most
Yeah.
instances and willing to teach you technique and welcoming you in. The people that are all like, are usually the people that are all fluff. And in my mind, in the beginning, it was like I have to go deal with all of these like cyborg type people who are going to be assholes, and I'm going to have to channel that version of myself where like I have to be hood. And it's the total fucking opposite, bro. Like,
Hmm.
everybody's so cool and so welcoming and willing to explain how they just killed you in this previous situation
Yes.
so that it doesn't
Yes.
happen in the next situation. And it's all a process of building each other up, bro. As much as we're
Yes.
trying to rip each other's head off, it's very much a brotherhood of like pick you up when you're down and like building each
Yeah.
other.
I'll tell you what, and this would be the last thing I'll say because you're saying something and it brings a memory to me right now. And I didn't even know, but like, I'm training with this guy and I was in a Muay Thai class. And I'm like my first Muay Thai class. I did kickboxing in high school a long, long time ago, but I'm over here stiff and I'm scared and I'm jumpy and I'm all over the place, and the guy takes a break and stops. Actually, you know who he is? Our competition coach. It was his son. So he was before he actually moved to like a Muay Thai school, but like he was with me. I didn't even know that was his son. And this guy told me something that I think about it now and I almost want to cry. But he stops and he tells me, "It's okay. You're safe here."
Bro, that's a very fucking strong statement. I got goosebumps when you said it.
Like I was like in the middle of the session and I didn't want to cry, but somebody that came from the hood, and I got picked on, I got bullied and I had to fight my way to not get bullied again. Like that was something that I needed to hear. And going against someone that could have destroyed me if he wanted to, and says, "Hey, relax, you're safe."
Showed you grace.
Bro, like that meant a lot to me. And I've seen that so many times in different versions with so many people, to use your words, like people that if they wanted to, they can kill you. And after they kick your butt, like they take the time to teach you how they did it and they teach you how to counter those moves so that
Correct.
you can be a better person moving forward. Coach Felix. So it was his son. And I was surprised, and I can't, like, he doesn't even know this. Maybe he's watching this now, but like that made a young man that is way younger than me made such an impact on me. And I'm like, wow, like this is what it's all about. And I guess I'm the reason
That's
I'm
so
saying
fire, bro.
that the reason I'm saying that is because when I talk to my high school friends about it, they're like, "Oh, when are you going to join the UFC? When are you going to go fight?" And I'm like, dude, like you'll be surprised. I was like, for me, like martial arts is not. I don't go there to learn how to fight. I don't even go there to learn how to defend myself, which I probably should. But I'm like, I go there. Like for me, yeah, like that's like a second nature thing. But for me, that's my therapy. Like that's that. Like, and you said it right. Like I didn't want to go to a therapist. I didn't want to talk to them about my feelings for them to write it down. Like this was my therapy. You didn't say it explicitly, but like you did say it in a way, like and you shared it, like that's how it helped you heal. But I guess I say
So
all this
many
stuff.
folks are like that too.
Yeah, yeah. And I include myself. Like I joined, martial arts on the tail end of a divorce where I'll be honest with you, like I tried to take myself out. And after I couldn't do it, and I ended up going to therapy, like I ended up in martial arts. So I was similar to you. I came from being in a dark place, and this has been my savior. Of course, along with God,
God
but
for that.
I say this to say that do you think, and you kind of already alluded to this, like what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about people that do martial arts that you would say are not true?
It's bro. To quote you, you're safe here. Like when you come into this place, in your mind, you're
Well,
like,
don't quote me. That was Coach Felix's son. I mean, that's what
well,
he said to me.
and shout out to him.
Yeah.
I think he goes by Deuce
Hmm.
or Two or something like that. But
Yeah. And
shout out to
he's
him.
a fire Muay Thai fighter, bro.
Fire, fire. It's not the boogeyman that you believe it to be. It's very much an academic thing in that people are here like trying to learn technique, and it's not just a brute like bang your head up against the wall. When done right, martial arts is like an educational experience where you're being taught something, and incorrect information is being corrected in your mind. And people are an asshole. Like, yeah, of course. Just like in church, you have sinners that go to church and that
Yeah,
gossip about other people. It's just the way of the world. But by and large, people that do this are people that have already experienced what we discussed, finding that peace, finding
yeah,
that chill. And they're also very aware of their abilities and what they can and can't do. And when they see you, they probably have a good, you as a newcomer, not the person hearing this, but
right.
when they see a newcomer, they've been there, so they probably see a lot of themselves in that newcomer. You'll be surprised how much you're going to be able to relate to someone in that gym because we all go through very similar shit, and it's a cool, welcoming place, man. It's not the slaughterhouse that you build it out to be in your mind in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, no, for sure, man, for sure. And I guess my last question, and thank you for sharing that. My last question for you would be, you are here now 3.5 years after deciding to make the move and start jujitsu. Knowing what you know now and having the personal, emotional, and physical and psychological growth that you have now, what would you tell the younger version of you before they started martial arts? What will you tell them as they are about to start this journey?
Me, right before I started this, or like a
Yeah,
younger version
yeah,
of
yeah,
me?
yeah. Like right before you started, what would you tell yourself knowing what you know now?
You're gonna fall down a rabbit hole. You're gonna love this a hell of a lot more than you're prepared for right now. In the beginning, I was just like trying something out, seeing how it would go. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like you step and the floor's not there, and you kind of just fall in. But it's
Yeah.
a fucking blast while you're going down. Like
Yeah,
you're falling down this rabbit hole. You're gonna have aches and pains, but you're gonna fucking love it. I'm almost positive that if you stick with it, the version of you that comes out on the other end is gonna be you're gonna be happy to have gone through that as a
for
result.
sure. For
I
sure.
would say.
Definitely. And you shared so many great lessons that, martial arts has provided you, but Is there, I guess, like a lesson that you would say is like the biggest or the most impactful in your life that you feel like other people should know about?
Can you see me? My bad.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I can
got,
see you.
I gotta.
Uh,
I got one of those scam calls and I try to ignore it and I answer.
oh, it's okay. It's okay. We'll edit it. But I guess my last question is, do you think there's like a the biggest a big lesson or probably the biggest one, the most impactful in your life that you got from martial arts that you feel like other people should know about?
You are more capable than you give yourself credit for. Again, the thing with my shoulder, the being the little bro and the basketball player around football players, the large majority of my football player friends don't want to grapple with me or roughhouse with me anymore because the dynamic is a little bit different. And I would have never believed that to be the case when I started. Bro, you never know how fucking great you are until you put yourself in the chance, in the position
Mm,
to see and to test it.
mm.
And you are more capable than you know. If you just give yourself the opportunity to explore that greatness, you might just be surprised.
Definitely, definitely. Stanley, is there anything that you want to share that I haven't asked you about that you feel like people should know?
I preach the fucking gospel all the time. Jiu-jitsu is your friend. It is your friend. Come on over. The water's fine. That's all.
That's awesome, brother. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it, man. It was a blast, and I really hope that this can be useful for a lot of people. And I really appreciate you being brave enough to share with us like the good, the bad, and the ugly, in martial arts in your personal life and how it's helped you to be a better person, man.
It's an honor, bro.